Hey everybody, welcome back again to the AD&D 2nd Edition channel. What we're taking a look at here is what I was sort of previewing in the previous video, which is a bag I found, which has a $6 price tag on it here from the Value Village. Now, this bag in and of itself ended up costing a little bit less because I ended up using a 20% off coupon on it. So I think it ended up costing me somewhere in around $4.80 plus tax, so probably like $5 and change. So pretty good deal. I've counted all these minis out. There seems to be, to the best of my knowledge, 72 minis here, so pretty cool. These are all Mage Knight minis. You can see the documentation a little bit in the frame there down below. That I'm not so interested in. I'm not really interested in playing Mage Knight, so maybe somebody would be, interested in all this documentation, but not really my thing. As well, there's a whole bunch of like cards and tokens and things like that in this box, so nothing too fancy right there, but the rest of this, generally speaking, was all minis. There's a couple other miscellaneous weird things in there, like a pencil sharpener and some pen and something else, but this is the bulk of it, and this is what's really important. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna head over to the turntable, and I'll give you a closer look at all of these.
First off, we have two Technicats. Obviously these are too techy for my style of D&D, but of the many minis in this lot, I would say these ones are some of the most detailed. They do pop, and there is some reflective qualities to the paint job which was done on them. I can't say they will get much use in any of my sessions, but still, there is something about them that is truly striking. This trio of Sniper, Atlian Sword Mage, and Darkwing Zombie is a little out of theme for D&D, as there is something about each one that's a little too modern, but I am certain they might be useful to someone as trade fodder. The Darkwing Zombie is just a little too cartoony, like with giant feet and small head, to really be terrifying in a campaign, so likely he will be of little use to me. These three Steam Knights make pretty cool constructs of some sort. I particularly like the detail and paint in these. In comparison to some of the more humanoid type of miniatures from this lot, you will see in the paint jobs on these ones is more accurate. Perhaps you can think of a good use for them. If so, be sure to comment down below. With these Kieran Stardons, we are getting to some minis that would make great archers. These minis would make either superb PCs or NPCs. As you have made noticed, some of their bows are damaged, but that's generally an easy fix. There are some fine details in the armor and clothing which makes them stand out and have depth. The minis themselves would fit nicely with standard D&D minis and would be functional with only a few minor touch-ups. The High Elven Warriors are an interesting bunch, as they do not have all the same paint job. Despite having the same sculpt and the same name, they are in fact variations of the same figure. In their case, their faces are a bit weak in the paint department and look sort of muddy with odd eyeball placement. In all likelihood, I'll repaint their faces, and perhaps the entire minis, which will likely be the case. I do really like the details put in their clothing, and that they outline the robes with ornate paint schemes. In this batch we have some Amazons. Included here we can see an Amazon Blade Mistress, an Amazon Warrior, and an Amazon Mancatcher. This is pretty great for the collection, as I have not come across many female miniatures that are warrior classes for D&D minis. Due to this, I am pleased to have gotten these, as the three are very useful in bulking out the warriors in my collection. Again, they may need a repainting, as it seems that Mage Knight and WizKids had some difficulty nailing the face of humanoid creatures, as they all seem to be quite muddy looking. Not too bad though really, as they should be fairly simple to paint. Again, adding a couple of female spellcasters to the mix is pretty great, and these Hieroman Priestesses will make excellent PCs, or NPCs in any campaign. They look rather powerful in their stance, although the blue one will require a new arm, as she seems to have lost hers in the heat of battle somewhere. As you might recall, I have scored a number of arms in Warhammer lots I have found in the past, so finding a reasonable replacement for that missing appendage should not be a huge problem. Here we're looking at a UTEM crossbowman, a Chasm Infuser, a Grave Robber, and an Amotep Gunner. All of these minis need some serious repainting by my estimation, but still, that being said, they have the details to make some pretty serious character models. I don't feel the current paint job does them any justice, but after a repainting these should serve as some great minis for characters or militia, or any number of uses really. The Grave Robber may not be totally suitable as a PC, but would make for a great NPC in town as a laborer or an actual grave robber. Here we see a noble initiate, a master archer, an apprentice conjurer, and again, these Mage Knight miniatures are great in the sense that they're providing a lot of female minis, which I feel have been lacking in my collection. With new bases, I feel they're pretty close to good to go, and table ready. I really enjoy the billowing flow of the clothing. It makes them look super action ready, which is great for a mini rather than just having their clothing pressed up against them body, which is more passive looking. These two Cloud Warriors are also excellent. Their details would work out for PCs, although again, I would probably at the very minimum touch them up a bit with some paint. In all likelihood though, I'll probably rebase and repaint these from scratch. There's quite a bit of detail in the clothing as well as armor, and I look forward to working with them. As you can see, one is already off of its base, which helps me out right off the start. Our next trio here is made up of a Blood Priestess, a Snow Maiden, and a Vampire Archer. First looking at the Vampire Archer, I must say I'm really impressed with this model. It is unlike the usual image that we see of a vampire that we would typically associate with them. I appreciate the aggressive stance, and rather than that handsome evil vampire that has been popular in modern lore, this one reminds me of the Nosferatu type with grotesque features. The Snow Maiden is really a wonderful creature that could be used as a monster or an NPC with great potential in either capacity. It is reminiscent of a centaur, but more beastly, perhaps a magical experiment gone awry, and that has been cast out from civilized society and rejected amongst the creatures of the realms. Next, a quick look at the Blood Priestess. I see her as the source of a Snow Maiden's torment, with an evil and twisted heart. I'm particularly impressed with this set of 3 minis, and see so much potential here. The next 3 are a Blackthorn, a Deathsinger, and one named Perceptive Nala. Again, the potential here is limitless, and I'm intrigued by the fact that they've added an undead or demon at Perceptive Nala's feet. Usually the miniatures that I've seen are just the character alone on the base, but this one is a little bit interesting because it has a familiar that would be for an evil witch. The other 2 would make some great assassins or even potentially work out as player character minis. All in all, there are some really decent quality here, but I would obviously repaint them, as I find the faces have that muddy quality that the factory paint jobs seem to have many of the human type miniatures in Mage Knight. Next we are looking at the Dwarven Axeman, General Vale, and Combat Magus. The dwarf is particularly interesting because it has a very imposing stance that he's in. It looks like he's ready to launch his axe. I've heard some YouTubers claim that they find this stance goofy, but I actually think it's cool and works to accentuate the muscles on his torso. Frankly, it is probably the most detailed dwarf mini I have. The other 2 have a ton of potential as well, but again have that muddy face syndrome, so when I do find a use for them, they will most likely be getting a repainting. Also, General Vale has something broken out of her right hand, so I may need to figure out a repair for that. In the bag that came with these though, there were some broken bits of weapons, so the tip of the blade is likely in there. Up next, we have a Golem Familiar, 2 Whirling Golems, and an Infantry Golem. These are some pretty detailed fellas we got right here, and would really suit certain types of adventures, perhaps as guards or things like that. While some are more usable than others, I would say there is still some potential for these creations with some imagination. If you have some suggestions on how you'd like to use these in your campaigns, let me know in the comments below. The next 2 are a Bone Golem and Corpheus. Really, these 2 are grouped together due to their size, as they're quite a bit larger than the average miniature. Both have a highly mechanized style, but we can see that Corpheus has sort of an orc vibe mixed with some steampunk alterations. Both would make excellent constructs, and your players would be a bit surprised when you throw this pair out in front of them. A formidable pair to say the least, and really there's not much that you would need to be doing to them, perhaps a little bit of rebasing. I feel that this pair have excellent paint jobs done on them, and the highlights and shading on these models really make them pop. My next 3 do not really need an explanation, as they are epic, and would be great creatures to place on any table. What we have here are a Skull Golem, a Skull Warden, and a Slag Troll. These are wonderful minis that would strike fear in the hearts of any foolhardy adventurer that crosses their path. Again, despite the reputation of some of the Mage Knight minis having horrible paint jobs, these 3 are fairly good to go with my usual treatment of rebasing. Next we have a Pegasus, and since I did not have such a creature before like this in my collection, it is really a great addition. There are some issues though with these, as the wings will need some proper blending with the body, as the paint did not continue onto the nubs that are attached to them. So there is a line of discoloration at the point. I have also put the Pegasus rider on top of the mount. The rider's not really useful outside of being on the mount, as she has that sort of straddling stance. I'm not entirely certain if she is the proper rider to go with the Pegasus, but I have put her here to show you that the Pegasus has a slot on its back to attach a rider. She was also included in the bag of minis when I bought them. Up next we have a Desert Warbird. Although it has a more forest vibe to me, I know it can be useful in a variety of settings. It has a really imposing pose and looks particularly aggressive, which is nice to see in a mount. It gives it more of an active stance. I'm not totally sold on the way the mouth was painted in the factory, and I feel the way that it was painted is just a little bit flat, but I would like to repaint it. As for the rest of it, they did a great job. I feel like they would make a really cool and unique mount for gaming with. I've also placed a rider from the last shot in this one, as it does have a slot for the rider on its back as well. She pairs up really well with the Warbird as well, so I likely will not glue her in either of the models, but just make it so she can be swapped out from the Warbird to the Pegasus and vice versa. Well, this one I would really call a horse because it's missing one of its main features that its name implies. This horned stag is missing its horns, so it really just looks like a stag, but a really detailed one at that. There's not much work to be done here except a rebasing as usual and a repair job around the place where its horns used to be. It would really work well as a warhorse due to its size and strength, and it's in the right scale with D&D. Also included in the bag were these two orc riders. I placed one of them on the horned stag from the previous example as a reference because they have a seating nub on their bottoms and need a place to sit. I'm uncertain of their actual names since they were not on bases, but from the looks of them they appear to be some sort of orc shaman based off of the feathered wings and general outfit that they're wearing. Because they need a mount to sit on, I'm unsure exactly how useful they will be, but I've included them here nonetheless. I'm really pleased to add the next two minis into the collection. These two rock griffins are interesting in many ways. First of all, I did not have any similar creatures in my collection. All the bestiary thus far, except for perhaps horses, have been evil in alignment. Yet here we have some minis for the collection that in mythological descriptions are opposed to evil. Secondly, their pose is absolutely stunning, with the wing being used as the point of connection between the mini and the base. As such, the miniatures get a swooping action as part of their stance, which brings a lot of dynamic action to their overall look. There is a lot of detail in the feathers, and their paint job is overall well done. They could be rebased or completely repainted if needs be, but I kinda like them just the way that they are. Our next trio consists of a Talon Warrior, a Whelp Firecaster, and a Whelp Alchemist. What I'm appreciating about these three is that they would make excellent stand-ins for an Orc or Goblin Spellcaster. Perhaps they could be used as stand-ins for many creatures that use magic, which makes them wonderfully versatile. All of my minis of this type so far are your standard weapon wielder or archer, but these minis mix it up with that magic user shaman vibe, so that is why they've been grouped together here. I would likely just do a rebasing on these and use them as is. The next three are an Imp, Leech Troll, and Wave Spawn, and they are a very interesting combination. While unrelated to each other thematically, they would make terrifying representations of creatures that any adventurer should be wary of. I might keep an eye out for more Wave Spawns, as I feel they would work better as a group. That being said, I'm still quite pleased to get one, because most of my minis are land-based. I feel that the Leech Troll and the Imp would serve better as superb demonic minions, or in the case of the Leech Troll, perhaps he could be used as a half-demon or any other variable uses. In the case of the Imp, I do like his sculpt, but I find the paint jobs just a little bit too plain. I would likely strip and repaint the miniature to make the details more pronounced. This next set of baddies includes a Vampiric Skeleton, a Soul Shredder, and a Blood Shaman. With all of these, I can see the potential for some deadly foes that your party could come up against. They all have a wide variety of uses all around, and in all likelihood I would not bother to repaint these and just use them as is. They are menacing enough, and for the green transparency I really just like the magically generated feel of the overall model, which a paint job would probably ruin that look. What potential uses do you see here? Comment down below about these or any of the minis I have shown thus far and let me know. Everyone can use some orcs, and here we have 4 that will see a lot of gameplay on any DM's table. I really like all the gritty details, and the 4 of them really complement each other and look as though they are part of the same clan or tribe. Their weapons are detailed but crude, and are really suitable to the models as well as the wolfskin furs. They really stand out. I'm torn to whether I would like to repaint these or just leave them as is. Part of me wants to repaint them as I feel they could bring out more details, but the other part of me wants to leave them because really they're orcs, and how long will they actually be on the table? The last mini here comes in this cardboard box. It says limited edition and is from 2003. I can't say for certain if the mini in this box is the actual model that was originally in it, since I'm not familiar with the Mage Knight line of miniatures and what they all are. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Okay, so inside this box we have a creature called Chroma. I can't seem to find any information on this particular model, so I'm unsure how limited it is, but again, this model is quite interesting, and it's slightly larger than the standard 28mm humanoid mini. Overall, this is a pretty detailed mini with lots of ridges in its wings and various armored and unarmored bits. I'm sure there could be a variety of uses for this model as well. If you have any creative suggestions for how you'd use this or any other Mage Knight miniature I've shown, let's start a discussion down below. All in all, there's 72 minis in this lot, so not a bad haul to say the least for a little over $6 including tax. That's everything I got for you this time around. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do feel free to thumbs up this video, comment down below, and I will see you all later.